It reminds me of a little book I read one day in California about 10 years ago. I picked it up in an old bookstore. I forget who was the author. Just a little 10-cent book. But it had some good sense to it. Though it seemed jokingly and cunningly, but I found something in there that sounded like God to me. And one of the little stories started out like this. One morning in a great chicken pen, there was a certain little rooster that thought he had all the knowledge that there was to be known. So he flies up on a box and beat his little bill against the box 4 or 5 times, threw back his little head and crowed like you never heard a rooster crow. And the others, he attracted their attention, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen of this chicken pen, I would like to speak to you all this morning on some great educational program we have just designed. Said, I have required a lot of knowledge in my studying," as he pulled his little glasses over his bill. And he said, "I have decided that we chickens can better ourselves by more knowledge. Therefore, I can tell you that if we will dig and work in a certain pen or hole, we'll find a certain vitamin that'll make us crow better, prettier feathers. And I can tell you how we can better ourselves in many different ways." And the little pullets with their little red combs, they just cackled and said, "Isn't he a darling?" And they certainly admired him. Oh, he is such a brilliant rooster. Reminds me of some of these here seminary preachers. Such a brilliant man. There's no need of us hanging around with the rest of the chickens. We all ought to go with him. Well, before the little fellow got his speech finished, there was another little chicken that didn't have such bright feathers come running in from the rest of the chicken yard and said, "Boys, just a minute. I just heard the latest bulletin on the radio. Chickens went up 4 cents on the pound. We're all going to the slaughter tomorrow. What good's your knowledge going to do? Brother, all the knowledge that we can accumulate, what good does it do? We're 6 foot of dirt. Amen. We're all dying by inches and by minutes. Our knowledge means nothing. We want to know Him." But they do that. As I was remarking some time ago about a certain little canary, and he thought he knowed all the knowledge that it needed to be known, and he knowed so much that he could tell all the rest of the canaries about the human beings. So he flies up on his cage and he begins to speak about the human beings, how he knowed all about them. And all of a sudden, a professor from Purdue walked up and began to speak some high, polished words to him, and the little fellow batted his eyes and turned his head. Now he had eyes, he could see the professor. He had ears, he could hear him. But of course he didn't know what he was talking about. Why? He's got a canary brain. He's just a bird brain. That's all he's got. He hasn't got a human brain, so he can't think like human beings. And neither can a human being think like God. Amen. You're human. All the worldly knowledge is no more than a canary brain. Amen. All you do, you just hurt yourself with it. You've got to have the mind of Christ.